It is 7 o'clock on the East Coast. It is 4 o'clock on the West Coast. It is the 16th of July in the year of our Lord 2023. And Steven can make sure that Brian knows how that works next time they do a show. It is season 14, episode 1. 636 times you have been welcomed to the Clubhouse Podcast. It's the beginning of our 14th season, you guys. We're so excited to be here, your one-stop shop for all things sports, entertainment, and pop culture. Live now on Facebook, we're live on YouTube, and we're live on Twitch, and we could not be happier to have you with us. Alex out on assignment this week. He'll be back next week. Welcome. My name is Rob. I am the executive producer of the Clubhouse Podcast. Boy, is Don coughs in my ear. We have a lot to talk about this week. That way, for me, is our special guest this week from the 1334 show, their executive producer, live from an undisclosed location. He is Steven. Welcome to the show, brother.
Hey, thanks for having me. I really got pump faked by the video. I know we had the discussion. The video started after the countdown, and I was like, no, we got ads.
I'm working on the timing of that. It's still a little weird here on StreamYard. At the bottom of your screen is the official fact checker of Sooner or Gator Productions, and the only person on the show that changed his shirt from the last show, because I forgot. You may know him as Igbunu, but his mama named him Don Ford. I'm going to call him Don Ford. Hey, man.
We got a little issue.
Do we?
Yeah. The Fantastic Faye Ford, who we all love.
Yes, we do.
Okay. She's a little mad at you.
I didn't do it. I wasn't even here that day.
Yeah, it was. Because we will talk about this later, but since the last show, I went to a different country and went to a city. And when I was there, I was doing this overload of Montreal. Ha, ha. And she goes, why did you say ha ha? I go, Rob got that going on the show. And I did overload because I was out there going ha ha ha. And it got to the point now she blames you for it.
Which you spelled wrong, by the way.
I'm not having to do ha
it's
ha ha.
H-A-W. So it's ha ha ha. You spelled it H-A, so it was ha ha ha. So it took me like an hour to figure out what you were saying when you texted me.
You're expecting me to spell right?
Yes, you made it on the Today Show or CBS This Morning or whatever the heck show that was.
The Sunday Mugs twice
on this show last week. So you got pub for that too. And if you saw the video link itself, you and Faith are actually the picture on the link.
Uh-huh. We're
That's
famous.
the only reason I knew, because you showed up on my thing and the thing on the screen. I was like, why is Don on my screen? Because of mug shots. I'm very concerned right now.
Think of the thing, yeah. Because
I was going to bail you out of jail or something because it said you and Face picture and it said mug shots on it. I was very confused.
Yeah. So we did it when we went to the DC for the Capitol, and then we made it this time. So when I go to the to jolly old England, I'm trying to see if I could get a shot in the middle of the Wrexham Field with the mug shots. If not, we'll do the Big Ben. Everybody's done Big Ben, but how many people have done Wrexham Field?
You know, I found out recently that Big Ben is just the clock. It's not.
Uh-huh. Yeah. That's the clock, yeah. Well, I have one beef, though, because we're looking at taking a tour like Parliament and Big Ben and stuff like that. You go to D.C., don't matter. The stuff's free. They may charge you $1 to do a pre-book for tickets or whatever, but still it's free. You want to tour Parliament? They charge you £30. Not dollars, £30.
It's about, what, $40 American?
Yeah, it's like 1.23. 1.23. Just
take it. But you know what you should do, Don? Every time you drive by, you should go, hey, kids, Big Ben, Parliament.
Yep.
That's a national
Yeah, I know, European vacation
reference.
It's just I won't go to Germany and be hunted down to be hung or anything.
Easy killer.
I'm just saying, but that's what happened. Remember?
Easy.
Spoiler.
Let us jump right in. Actually, Don, let's go ahead and get your piece of this done first before I forget, because you did want to talk about your trip that you and Faith took to America's Hat. Yeah. So we're going to let you do that. We go live to you.
All right. So we took I was up there for 5 days. Faith stayed a little bit longer because her sister was up there, my sister-in-law, Wyre. And she lives in Montreal. And so it's my first time really being in Canada there like that. And Montreal's on the very East Coast in Quebec. The when I first arrived, it was interesting because I saw like a lot of signs at the airport that were French and English. But once you got out of there, people were really speaking more French than anything. And it was really kind of weird because I go to like an airport guy to ask a question and he could barely understand what I'm saying in English. I did put on Facebook some of the shots I've took of Montreal because it is mostly French out there. Like all the stop signs are in English and all the different stores and some names that I cannot pronounce. But so we're up there for a day or two. Then we took a trip to Toronto to go a 2-day stay of stopping in Toronto, then going to Niagara Falls. And once you get out of Quebec and you hit to Toronto, which is Ontario, everything is English. So it's like two different countries, two different languages as you went through. Once you got out of Quebec, everything's English.
Now, Don, you know why that is, though?
Why is that?
Because Quebec wants to be its own thing. They literally want to be their own country.
Yeah.
So they want you as an American tourist to adapt to them, not the other way around.
Yeah, I understand.
Everything in Quebec's in French because, that's why.
Yeah, but it was kind of interesting how it's still the same country, but I understand that they're. But one thing, we're taking this trip, and it said Toronto 500 on the mile signs down the interstate. I'm thinking 500 miles. How long that's going to take? But then I've realized it's kilometers, which is 0.6 of a thing.
But then you would have been the guy that walked 500 miles and then walked 500 more.
Yeah. So bad. But then we went to Toronto. And hey, when I came back and Faith was still in Toronto, in Montreal, I'll get to that in a second. But so we stop in Toronto, which is on the way to Niagara Falls if you go around the Great Lake. And part of the tours, we stopped at the Ripley's Museum, which is the aquarium right next to the Toronto ballpark.
Now, I want to ask a question in all seriousness.
Yeah.
You said it's the Ripley's Museum. So is it the same as the Ripley's Believe It or Not Museum? This is a whole different thing.
It's an aquarium.
Okay.
It's one of the top aquariums in Canada. And it's literally like right next to the ballpark where the Toronto Blue Jays play. And they have manatees in there. They have.
Is that still Sky Dome?
I forgot what it's called. You'd have to look on that. Okay. But there's some name park, but it was really cool because they had a bunch of one huge aquarium where it had manatees, those like stingrays, every kind of fish you can imagine. But the thing I liked about it, at one point when you're going under this big tunnel under the aquarium, it has this escalator that you stand on. So you know how you go in like different aquariums and people stand and hog certain spots and everything. At this one, you're on an escalator, so you have to move along, which was kind of smart, I think, for a museum to do something like that. There's octopuses, all that, but it was really, really a really cool experience. Then right next to that is the CN Tower, which is their tall tower, which at one point was the tallest freestanding structure in the world.
And that's the one that kind of looks like the Space Needle in Seattle, right? Okay.
Yeah, and it's 1,800 feet tall, but basically it's the needle, then the big opening, and then the needle on top. Or it's like the thing, then the big opening around where everybody stands, and then there's a needle on top. But that part's about 1,500 feet up in the air. The part where people walk around the main part of the tower there. And it's all around. You can see it's a 360 view as you walk around the thing. And there's one area where it is clear and you look down and it's like a pure drop right below you. It's a little area where you can look down, but there's nothing except you in the ground. And this thing, to give you an idea how big it is, take 3 Reunion Towers, and that's how tall we were up in the air.
For the people that aren't in Dallas, Reunion Tower is the thing when you see the Dallas skyline that looks like the big lollipop, got the ball at the top. That's exactly. Reunion Tower.
Yeah. So it's over three times as tall as Reunion Tower, but it was, and the elevator as it shoots up and it takes about a minute, which I did put on Facebook going down. It is, you got the view of nothing out there or below you or around you. It's like not one of those elevators in the middle of the thing. You got the city view as you're going up and it's getting taller. And here comes like all these, clouds and stuff like that. And if you got a fear of heights, watch out. Don't look out turn the other way towards the door of the elevator as you go up. But that was kind of cool to see that. And then we stayed the night. Then the next morning, we went straight to Niagara Falls. And the only thing we didn't like about the tour is the amount of time I got at Niagara Falls. It wasn't that long considering, but still we did one of the boat tours where it takes you under the falls itself and you get drenched and they give you those ponchos and stuff because you're going to get wet. But just to see that those two falls, basically there's three falls, but the U.S. side and the Canadian side, and it's just a marvel of nature, which was incredible to see. It was just awesome. And actually, we want to take Memorial Day next year, actually after Memorial Weekend, that week when it's going to be dead, after the Memorial Rush crowd, and still get some time off from the holiday. We're thinking about spending like 3 days there, which would be kind of cool. But it was still cool to see Niagara Falls in person once and see the power of the water and how big they are and how much water comes down that thing, which they can actually kind of, limit how much comes and goes by the dams up above the river. And then we went back, and then the rest of the time we stayed in Montreal. We went to the old part of Montreal and what they call Old Town, and that's the historic area. And up there, one thing I forgot to bring this. I apologize. On the way also to Toronto, we stopped in what they call the Thousand Islands area, which is on the St. Lawrence River. It's an area where we took a boat tour and we went to what they call the Bolt Castle. Now, George Bolt, he was the manager of the Waldorf Astoria and stuff like that from the 1800s. He built this huge house for his wife, and it's built on an island shaped like a heart. And this thing was a castle and was almost done, but before it could be completed, his wife passed and she never saw it. So he kind of abandoned it at that point. Then they turned it into this, finished up the castle. Now it's a historic site. But literally, they call it the Thousand Island area because literally there's over 1,800 islands in that area on the St. Lawrence River. Now, to be considered an island, it has to be above water, 1 square foot has to be above water all 365 days a year and have at least 2 living trees on the island. Okay. But it was cool to see all those little islands, and it has the shortest international bridge because there's one little island that's on the U.S. and one on the Canadian side, and they're 6 feet apart. And it's literally an international bridge between Canada and the U.S. on that river. So, but seeing the Bolt Castle was cool and see all those little islands all over. And that's literally where the Thousand Island dressing came from, is because
that ruined my joke. I was going to act.
Well, how am I supposed to know you?
No, I'm just saying I was going to make a joke, but then it was a joke because it would have been really.
Yeah, the chef for George.
It all connects.
Yeah, George Bolt, the chef for him made a special dressing that night, and they loved it. So they called Thousand Islands because they're in that area there,
which I enjoy very much.
Yeah. So we went to the Old Town and we went to a restaurant that was really, really incredible. Hold on, let me pull it up because I try to pronounce it, but it was the Jordan Nelson, and that's where I had. This place is known for its French cuisine. It's kind of outside, cool area. And I actually had rabbit crepes, which was good. But they had all the different types of crepes you can imagine. But you had to do that French
rabbit
cuisine.
Crepes, CREPES.
Yeah,
rabbit crates. I'm like, why would you put rabbit in a crate?
No, the crepes.
Now I understand. Okay.
Yeah. And they have all the
like it had actual rabbits.
In meat, yeah.
It was rabbit meat. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. They had like 30 different crepes.
I can't have rabbit. I found out that when I have rabbit, it makes me jumpy.
Yeah, you already put that. Yeah. I was gonna have lamb, but I heard it was bad. But Faith did they had all the breakfast crepes.
Steven's done.
But but I had to do some of the French cuisine, and I just said, let's try something different. I did the rabbit crepes. And then we had something on my last night there, which I never heard of. It's called the poutine or whatever.
Okay, I want to address this for a second. Let me get back to the pre-shot. You had never heard of poutine before this trip? That's actually shocking to me because there's a lot of places here that you can get poutine.
Yeah, I never really heard of it.
We actually have a place over there at Preston in 635 called the Maple Leaf Diner. It's a Canadian place.
Leaf Cafe.
And poutine is delightful. Steve,
I love it.
Yeah, with the fries and the
Oh
gravy
no, that
and
was
all
the place I was going to suggest.
Maple
Mhm.
Leaf, oh, it's great. Their food is amazing.
Yeah, and it's just like I
Very
love
good.
gravy and I love fries, so it's like the best. Then you add the cheese and stuff, and I'm thinking add some mashed potatoes. That'd be killer with it. But
I know that you can say like put an egg on it. It's very good too.
oh yeah, but then
One
that one place that had like 40 different poutines or whatever you could choose from and everything like that. So, but it was just, and one thing I know is if you're in Montreal, if you're in the service industry, no offense, you have to be bilingual, because
absolutely, because it's
when I sat down, a lot of times they say bonjour, bonjour, and they like, then you start speaking because they don't know if I speak French or whatever, but
bonjour.
yeah, bonjour, but yeah, everybody that was so it's kind of weird being in an area where but a lot of stores you walk into, I just say speak English. Oh yeah, they're really cool. It's just because I don't know like a French except French fries, French bread, like I was saying earlier.
Go
But
listen to the other show. That's all I'm saying.
mercy, but it was a cool trip. Just seeing my biggest thing was seeing the difference between Montreal and Toronto, and the language and the signs and everything, and how it seems like two different worlds. And they're only 300 miles apart, if that. So it was a cool time. See something different. I'll go back. Yeah, my sister-in-law's there. Someday I'll go back again and see it. But Montreal, Niagara Falls, we want to stay more. That was, I think, the best part of the trip. And one other thing, we went to this place where they do maple syrup, which I put on Facebook, and they have all the maple trees in the back, which was incredible, and how they have the lines and stuff and everything. But they do like maple butter, maple spice and everything. But just to see the plantation thing in the back where they get the syrup from the maple trees and stuff, and see how that process is, was really amazing. Of course, we brought some of the stuff back, and even brought back maple alcohol and stuff like that too, maple whiskey and everything. So,
all right, I'm glad you had some time. Glad you had an amazing trip. Sounds like, and Faith stayed up there a little bit longer to hang out.
It's just
She's back safely now, so we're good there.
Any questions or anything?
No, I think we covered it, brother.
Okay,
Steven, anything on your mind?
I do have one question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was thinking about it. So I went to the Carolinas. I went to Charlotte and I went to Greenville, South Carolina this past week, and very South will rise again type place. I noticed that like if you go into certain parts of town, because it's a NASCAR area, they still don't like Jeff Gordon or Jimmy Johnson. So there's a lot of hate stuff there. Did you go into Montreal and see any hate for Shawn Michaels? Because I would love that.
Actually, I was gonna, make the joke. I was looking for, Edge and Trish in Toronto, couldn't find them, and then I was looking for, Sammy up there, and no luck either. But I did drive by the arena where the screw job happened. Like, oh, there's the arena, So
that was one of my favorite Shawn Michaels promos where they were in Florida and they were chanting. He just looked at the crowd, goes, "Don't you have your own country?"
Well, either that or
as a Floridian, we understand that joke more than most people do.
See, I don't know which one they hate more, Shawn Michaels or they hate Guns N' Roses. Remember that?
I'm gonna ride with them on that one. I'm not a Guns N' Roses fan.
Very different reasons.
Yeah, Metallica.
All right, let's get into sports talk. I got to get my banners because I want to do this again.
But thanks for the time. It was a good trip.
All right, let's get into NASCAR talk.
Oh boy!
All right, they're actually postponing again today. Today's race takes place tomorrow, so we won't have race results for you. But let's get to your points updates because we are only about 6 weeks away from the beginning of the NASCAR playoffs. If the playoffs started today, your odd people out would be Bubba Wallace and AJ Allmendinger. They are 10 points apart, but Bubba Wallace is now 3 points behind Michael McDowell. So he's not.
I saw him at a bar in Charlotte.
Oh, so great. He's actually tied with Daniel As You Kill My Father to Die. They are both almost 50 points behind Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Stenhouse is 30 points back on Tyler, The Adventures of Reddick. Reddick is 19 points back on Keselowski. Keselowski 2 back on Buescher. Chris Buescher is now 12 points back on Joey Logano. Logano is 12 points back on Harvick. Harvick is only a point back on Kyle Larson. Caveman attorney. Larson is 18 points back on the Stone Ryan Blaney. Blaney is 18 back on
My
Denny
guy.
Moon Hamlin. Hamlin is 14 back on Ross Don't You Dare Call Me Jessica Chastain. Number one in your programs, number one in your hearts. Chastain is 16 back on Christopher Ring My Bell. Bell is a point back on Kyle Busch. We only have one of the Busch brothers currently qualified for the playoffs. Busch is 15 back on Truex. Truex now 21 points back on the poet William Byron, who won the race last week. Coming up. Did you guys see the name of the race that they're racing tomorrow?
No.
It's from the New Hampshire Motor Speedway, 301 laps, 318.46 miles. It is the Crayon 301. Crayon, not what you think it is. It's spelled the same way. You would think, but it's not that. On last week's show, Alex looked this up. It's some kind of an adhesive, but it's not Crayola. Next week, we are racing on Sunday at 2:30 Eastern on the USA from Pocono. It is the highpoint.com 400. Every race from now until the end of the season is either on the USA or on your NBC proper. So get ready, because that's all they're going to have on Sunday afternoons, because we're going to be watching a whole different thing here in about 6 weeks. And then all will be right in the world. It was the All-Star break in Major League Baseball this week. The National League finally gets one 3-2 after a record-setting home run derby the night before. We are now officially in the second half of the season. Steven modeling his New York Yankees cap. Will you be buying a Star Insurance patch to put on the side of that hat, sir?
No.
As they have paid $25 million to ruin the Yankee uniforms.
Yeah, and I saw that. I was like, Now, if me as a fan, if I can get paid for doing it, absolutely, maybe I would.
I've just never heard of Star Insurance, much less a company that would have $25 million to burn for half a season.
It's the new way we're going in with sponsorships.
Well, they were talking on the Bob and Tom show this week, and if you had 22 minutes at the first Bob and Tom reference, collect your winnings at customer service. They were like, well, before sooner or later, you're going to have teams named after sponsors. You already have one. Isn't in MLS, isn't the New York Red Bull still a thing?
Yes.
So you've already got it. So it doesn't.
Speaking of MLS. Oh.
Yeah. You know,
you saw that?
Really, they're reaching for headlines when it's like, Lionel Messi went shopping at a Publix. Everybody shops at a Publix in South Florida. This is not anything new. Let the man get his groceries. But did you see how
let him get a chicken tender pub sub and call it a day?
There you go. Did you see the ticket prices, though? Overnight went from average ticket price was like $27 for an Inter Miami game. Overnight the average ticket went to over $300. After they announced.
So he was supposed to debut tonight. Debut tonight, and it rained out, and people dropped close to $1,000 per tickets. I was hearing.
I have no doubt
for this first game.
Which I just watch it in my living room. I've become the guy that's not. I don't have to have the ticket for everything. Like if I can watch it in my living room, my home theater system, then I'm going to do that. If somebody wants to take me to a live sometimes, I'm here for it. Yeah, and the commentary, especially in soccer, is very, very helpful for a guy like me. Let me
ask you this: if there was a Atlanta Texas World Series and Game 3 was here,
if somebody wanted to buy me a ticket, I would go absolutely.
Okay,
but I've got other things to spend that kind of money on. Is the problem?
Yeah, I'm just curious.
We had the second half of the season underway on Friday after the All-Star break. Let's go to your standings in the American League East. Stevens Yankees. A lot of people are downing on the Yankees because they're in last place. They're actually tied for last place with Boston, which that might be one of the biblical signs of Armageddon. But they're only 9 games out. It's not like if it's, after Labor Day and you're 9 games out, that might be a problem. In mid-July, not a problem at this point. Boston and the Yankees are both 3 games back on the Toronto Blue Jays, as Don mentioned earlier. Toronto is 5 back on Baltimore. Baltimore now a game back on Tampa Bay. Now, Don,
Yeah.
you've played this game. Steven, I know we're going to get to North America's favorite game show here in just a minute.
Yeah.
But for this season,
Mm-hmm.
we have a new game to play.
Oh, boy.
That game is how far behind is the last place team in the AL East from the first place team in the AL Central?
Still happening.
Still happening. What is your guess, Don Ford?
I'm going to say that the first place team of the Central is, I know it was close. I'm going to say 2.5 games behind the last place of the East.
Steven.
I'm going to say 4.5.
As I mentioned earlier, the Yankees and Boston are both tied for last place in the AL East. At 50 and 44, not a bad deal. The Minnesota Twins currently lead the American League Central at 48 and 46. So the last place teams in the AL East are only 2 games ahead of the first place team in the AL Central. As a matter of fact, both of those teams would lead the AL Central right now because Minnesota's 48 and 46.
Yeah.
After a 3-game win streak.
And the last place Yankees and so forth, they have winning records. What are they? 5-0, 5-10 right now?
532 because they're 50 and 40.
532. Oh, yeah. Okay. 532.
I mean, it's insane. But Tampa Bay got off to such a hot start that they're just maintaining. And Alex and I talked about this last week. They're maintaining. If they can just maintain the pace. Now, Baltimore's won 8 in a row. Toronto's won 4 in a row. So they're breathing down the neck of the Rays. Especially Baltimore only being a game back with such a rough start as the Orioles had. In the NL Central, the Kansas City Royals are still terrible. They're 21 games out. They are 13.5 back on the White Sox. The White Sox now 2.5 back in Detroit, which last night in Detroit, we had, who was it that was performing there? And Eminem came out and hung out for a while. Detroit now 3.5 back on Cleveland. Cleveland now 2.5 back on Minnesota. In the AL West, the Oakland A's are 30.5 games out. So they got that going for them because they're only 22 games.
Did you hear the chants at the All-Star game?
Oh, which ones? There was like 170 of them.
The ones where they were like, sell the team. Like they just started chanting, sell the team when the player was coming up to bat at the All-Star game. Crazy.
They are it is mid-July and they are 22 games back on Law. The Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, Los Angeles County, California, America, North America, Earth, Milky Way, Universe, Multiverse. Law is a half game back on Seattle. Seattle now 4.5 back on Houston. Houston 3.5 back on the Rangers, who have won 3 in a row. In the National League West, the Colorado Rockies are 18.5 back. They are 8.5 back on the Padres. The Padres now 7.5 back on the Diamondbacks. Arizona is now half game back on San Francisco, who's 2 games back on the Dodgers. In the NL Central, St. Louis 11.5 out of first place. Don, they're only a game behind your Pittsburgh Pirates. I'm still angry. I'm going to be in Pittsburgh, and they're going to be on the road.
You know what?
It'll take time to go see
about a month ago, we were in first place. And they said, you're in first. Yeah, it ain't going to last. So what happened? Now we're in 4th.
2.5 back on the Cubs. Your Cubs are 6 back on Cincinnati. Cincinnati, who's trying to light the world on fire, except they've lost 4 in a row. They are 2 games back on Milwaukee. And now in the only division that matters, the NL East, the Nationals are still keeping the Mets out of the cellar because they're 24.5 back. They are 5.5 back on Alex's beloved Mets. The Mets are now 8 back on Philly.
Boo.
Philly now 3.5 back on my Marlins. My Marlins now 9.5 back on my Braves, who are deciding they're just going to set the world on fire right now, which I'm fully here for. But dear God, do this in October. Do not fall apart in September. All right, gentlemen, are we ready for North America's favorite game show?
Yeah.
It is time to play.
I guess.
What is the run differential for the Oakland Athletics again? Steven.
Negative 863.
Don.
Negative 250.
So the Oakland Athletics are 25-70 right now. Which
There's a
means
chance.
I would say it's safe money to say they're going to hit triple digits in losses. That is a 263 win percentage. To give you some kind of perspective, as much crap as we talk about the Kansas City Royals win percentage is 24 thousandths of a point better than Oakland. Oakland at 263, Kansas City at 287. They are 30 and a half games back. They are a month and a change games back if they played every day. They are 12-35 at home. They are 13-35 on the road. What have we said on this show about this team? They are nothing if not consistent.
Exactly. On the road and at home.
And to get there, they've lost 7 in a row. And they're 2-8 in their last 10. The run differential for the Oakland Athletics could be the closest Don has ever come. It is minus 252.
Oh, wow.
I just like being obnoxious.
But would anybody have faulted you at minus 800 and change? This team is terrible.
What's the record again overall?
They are currently 25-70.
Oh, yeah. So let's see. They still got 60-something games to go, and they're at 250.
No, Don, yeah. So let's look at the rest of the league.
They might hit 400
in the bottom of the barrel in each division. Oakland's won 25 games. Washington has them beat by 12 games. The Cardinals have them beat by 25 games. The Rockies have won 11 more games than them. And Kansas City's won 2 more. And we can't count the AL East because they're all over 50 wins anyway. It's insane. It is pure insanity.
Do you think because they're leaving that they're just kind of like whatever?
This was happening long before.
Yeah.
This team's been bad for a while. And now it's, oh, no, please don't sell. No, sell the team. Send them to Vegas. Vegas has already got the plans up for the stadium, which I think car rentals in Vegas are going to tank because you're not going to be able to drive anywhere.
Why is that?
Because you're going to have a football stadium at one end of the strip and a baseball stadium at the other, and the hockey between them.
And they have that cool orb thing too.
Oh, the Sphere. That thing.
Yeah, Sphere, that thing.
WWE's already in talks. They're like, we need to do a play here. It looks dope, dude. I know U2's doing a concert there. I want to say they've got the first show. I don't remember. But when they turn that thing on, it's this new thing in Vegas. It's called the Sphere. And it's the outside of it. It's one big like orb. The entire outside of it is a video board.
Okay.
And on 4th of July, they lit it up. And this thing is sick, bro. Like, it's ridiculously cool. And
didn't they turn it into a basketball for Summer League too?
I bet they probably did. Because they've already said they're going to hold MMA there. They're going to have concerts there, which is going to hurt the T-Mobile arena, but they're going to be fine. But I just want to see what the inside of this thing looks like. Because it's just, and they're talking about, well, we'll just project on the outside. I'm like, no, you won't, because then nobody won't go inside. All right. Let's get into TV talk. If you remember CSI New York.
Yeah.
There was a guy on that show by the name of Hill Harper. He worked in the ME's office. He has done a lot of work with mentoring young men, has written a couple of books. He announced this week he is running for Senate in Michigan. So we want to wish him all the best of luck.
That was where Gary Sinise kind of ran it. He was the head, head
Mhm.
investigator there.
Yep. ABC announcing. Did you guys watch Ms. Marvel when it was on the Plus last year?
No.
ABC's actually going to be airing it. 3 episodes on August 5th and the other 3 on August 12th. I liked it. It was a weird shift to follow Moon Knight because Moon Knight was so dark, and Ms. Marvel, they just full on leaned into the Disney side for it, which was a little odd for me. But Iman Vellani, who plays Ms. Marvel, she is actually working with Marvel on a new book title for the character as well. And of course, she'll be in Marvel's, we assume, later this year. It's supposed to be out in November. We'll see. But you're going to see a lot of this. And I think from the network standpoint, I'm not saying this is a terrible idea. Take the stuff that you've had streaming only and put it on your over-the-air stuff because you're going to have gaps to fill. And we're going to talk about that here in just a little while. I think this is the first step in that process. And if this does well, I think you're going to see a lot more of it because you have a lot of shows that were streaming only that you could, if nothing else, fill time with. Because it's already weird. And it has been for 2 months.
Yeah, because you look at like Paramount Plus, they might have to move stuff to.
Oh, I found a 3-part documentary series on. I think I'm going to watch tonight on Paramount Plus. That's about the history of Yacht Rock, and I am here for it. It's called
Yacht Rock. Okay.
Very excited
because they did a lot of shows that were only on Paramount Plus, and they may have to just like the 1883 and stuff like that.
I think you're going to see a lot more of that, and even if this does mediocre viewership, you're going to see more of it, just because. And like I said, we're going to talk about this later. I want to put a pin in it, but this ain't going anywhere anytime soon. Let's see. AMC has announced that their 74th spinoff of The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon, will premiere September the 10th at 9 p.m. Eastern with Norman Reedus' character waking up in Europe and apparently not knowing how he got there. So got that going for you. Bravo. A couple of weeks ago, we announced that Padma Lakshmi is not going to be coming back to host the new season of Top Chef. Instead, replacing her will be the season 10 winner, Kristen Kish. And she definitely has the seal of approval for the Padma Lakshmi. So it's Padma Lakshmi. I really have to learn how to say that. The CW has said that All American, which is really their only original concept they've got left, is going to be a mid-season debut for their 6th season, as the networks are trying to kind of move things around so that things don't run out. Steven, I don't know, and this applies to, if I'm not mistaken, a team that you follow. Earlier this year, it was announced that the CW was going to be carrying the Live Golf Tour, which we all found strange because nobody puts CW and sports in the same sentence. It was announced this week,
not at all,
that for the next 4 seasons, the CW will be carrying both football and basketball for the ACC.
Okay.
Which I find.
Oh, I know. I did hear that on Wednesday.
Steven is a big fan of the University of Miami, and so we put that out there for him. Speaking of which, we got to talk later about that I Love the 90s concert I went to last week. 2 Live Crew kind of distancing from Miami. Okay. And it's Vanilla Ice distancing, but we kind of figured that.
One thing, CW, it's not on AT&T things now.
Really? Yeah. I think I have it on Hulu still.
Uh-huh. Yeah, but like the Uverse and DirecTV, the contract ran out, and right now on that channel, it says info not available. It's nothing showing.
Interesting.
So, and for DirecTV,
I've had
it turned into MeTV.
Yeah, the DirecTV streaming has never had the CW because that was one of my problems when we cut the cord. That's why I lost like the last 3 seasons of the Berlantiverse because I got lost and they only carried 3 episodes at a time on the app. In news for our friend Rachel Wimberly, who is at the Ranger game tonight, the Hallmark Channel is doing a Christmas-themed cruise next year with some of their stars. So get ready for that, cruise industry. Because that seems to be the cash cow right now. These theme cruises, Alex and I did the Jericho cruise right before the world shut down. Had a blast. But these things everybody's going on cruises right now. My social media feed is flooded with people taking cruises right now. I'm not sure what's going on there. Hulu has said season 2 of their show This Fool will start July the 28th. That seems to be getting very good reviews. And Max has renewed We're Here for season 4. This is a show where they have 4 drag queens that are going to small towns and helping educate them. So that will be on the Hulu. On Max in season 4. I still want, they should have just named it HBO Stream. Like calling it Max is just weird. MTV. I wish Alex was here because this is his jam. Season 2 of the Challenge USA will have MTV Legends on one side and Survivor and Big Brother winners on the other. So they're trying to do something. I'm still not going to watch because it ain't MTV, but what are you going to do? And Prime
used to show videos.
Yeah.
Used to.
Prime Video announcing season 2 of The Wheel of Time will debut September 1st. It will pick up immediately after the end of season 1. I have not invested much in this. I'm hearing very mixed reviews on it. But I will say yesterday, I did get into my Prime Video app and I watched the latest one-woman show. It runs about an hour, 20 minutes from Alex Borstein, who you might know as the voice of Lois Griffin from Family Guy. It's called Corsets and Clown Suits. Not safe for work, but I chuckled multiple times, and I'm a big fan of Alex Borstein, and I'm glad she's doing very, very well with her special. So check that out. Not for the kids. TV on DVD and Blu-ray this week. Season 1 of The Last of Us. I did not watch this, but apparently I got plenty of time till season 2 because they're saying season 2 may not be till 2025. Steven's shaking his head.
Why? Because of the
Oh, no,
strike?
I haven't watched it either.
So,
I mean, did they say why the big delay?
I think they're still writing it, and then the writers went on strike. So,
yeah, okay.
Your Honor, which was wasn't that one you enjoyed, Don?
Oh yeah, so what came? Yeah,
Well, there's it's done.
Yeah,
because season 2 and the complete series is available on DVD.
Yeah, and how they ended it, but still is a great show. Loved it.
And seasons 21 through 25 in a box set of South Park available to you this week. The fact that show
I haven't watched South Park in years.
The fact that it's still going, it's amazing.
I still watch it because they jab at anything. Nothing's off bounds out of it, you know.
See, I saw it for the first time in like a couple years, like 3 nights ago, and I was like surprised. But then I saw this news story, that episode where Cartman wants to go to Casa Bonita. Apparently, the 2 owners are rebuilding, or not rebuilding, but bought out Casa Bonita and reopened it because it closed down during COVID or something. I saw that news story. That's pretty cool.
And they're paying them all $20 an hour because they're not allowed to take tips.
Are you sure they can't take tips there?
Not at Casa Bonita.
Yeah, I've been there when I was my dad, lived in Denver at the time. Yeah, I mean, I've been there like 2 or 3 times, and everything on the show was true. They have the little cave, and they have the divers off the waterfall and stuff like that, and it was a cool time for a kid,
Music news this week: Britney Spears will be releasing her memoir on October 24th, titled "The Woman in Me." Isn't that a Shania Twain album? That was Shania Twain's first big album. Need her to. That whole Victor Wembanyama thing is just weird. If you have tickets to the Power Trip Festival that Ozzy was supposed to be headlining, of course, Ozzy's still not up from his health, not available to be on stage yet. But Judas Priest has stepped in to cover for Ozzy, so I think you're going to be okay if you've got tickets to that particular show. Want to say congratulations to The Weeknd, who's now going by his birth name. He has passed Michael Jackson's Bad Tour with the highest grossing tour for an African-American musician. He generated $350 million on his latest tour.
Is that all?
Got that on me.
Yeah.
No, I don't. I like his music. I'm a fan of his music.
I like the throwback combined with the newer style. I really dig what he does. I like the halftime show. I enjoyed it when he did the Super Bowl a few years ago. And Elton John's Goodbye Yellow Brick Road tour ends up grossing $939 million, which, impressive on its own. Taylor Swift apparently saying, "Hold my beer," because projections at this point is that she will clear 10 digits. And she's just now adding Canada. Like this this has taken the world by storm, but it's Taylor Swift, so on a certain level, you kind of have to expect it. But yeah, this is cool.
Get it.
I mean,
It's like the Tide Pod challenge. No one should like it. No one should do it. What's going on?
Filling stadiums, bro. Like, but I mean, it's just like, and it seems like the Jonas Brothers are going to be doing something very similar because it says 5 albums one night. So are they literally just going to play their entire catalog? Because if that's the case,
I like that Waffle House song though.
Take the next day off because you're going to need it. Those kids got talent. Trophy Club checking in.
What do you mean Waffle House song?
They have a Waffle House song.
They have a song called Waffle House. It's a catchy song. It's like a perfect summer song. It's good.
Got more in the tackle box.
All right.
Music new releases this week. Blur is back. You can believe that. Brand new album called The Ballad of Darren. Got that going for you. Greta Van Fleet has Starcatch this week. They're going right out on tour with this thing too. Guided by Voices, who was just in town, I believe, with Fall Out Boy. They have a brand new album called Welsh Pool Frillies. I don't know what that means. MXPX or Mixed Picks, depending on who you are. That's a band we haven't heard from in a while. They have a brand new album this Friday called Find a Way Home. And Niles Lofgren releases Mountains. So that is your update on the music scene. Let us get into box office numbers from our friends at Box Office Mojo, dropping out of the top 10 this week. After 3 weeks, Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken, drops from 10 to 12, makes $1 million. 3 weeks, $14.5 million. I believe that's the only thing that's... Oh, yep, because dropping from 9 to 10 this week is The Little Mermaid. $2.3 million. 8 weeks, $294 million. And given that it's not going to get released everywhere, that's pretty good numbers. Joyride drops from 6 to 9. If you have not seen this film, you do have reviews up for us at www.theclubhousepodcast.com.
That's our website.
Don't take the kids.
No.
That's all I'm saying.
Unless you want to have a lot of questions on the way home.
It makes another $2.6 million. 2 weeks, $10.6 million. That's going to be I said this is going to be the surprise hit of the summer in my personal review. No Hard Feelings drops from 7 to 8, $3.3 million. 4 weeks, $46.6 million. Another film, it's better than it had to be. It's not great. Don't expect, everything everywhere all at once and you'll be fine. Transformers Rise of the Beast drops from 8 goes from 8 to 7. It switches places with No Hard Feelings. $6.1 million, 7 weeks, $368.8 million. This film has passed $420 million globally, 368 of it here. Steven, have you seen this yet?
No, I've not.
It's actually pretty good. If you take Bumblebee out of the equation, and I said this in my review, currently located at www.theclubhousepodcast.com.
That's our website.
Don, it's the second time I said it.
Still our website.
Thank you. If you take Bumblebee out of the equation, it's the best one since the first one.
To be honest, I love the animated series. I've never been big into those movies. I don't know what it is. Just it never resonated with me. But I'll check it out if you say it's good. So
don't expect Beast Wars. You're getting introduced to some of those characters, but it's really well done. So dropping from 5 to 6 this week, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Steven, have you seen this?
No, it's on the queue. I have so much traveling going on. I haven't been able to see a lot of movies. So, but it's definitely up there because I've been in since day one. So,
another $6.1 million, 7 weeks, $368.8 million domestic. It has actually passed 650 million globally. So, what have we learned about Sony? Animated Spider-Man, live action Spider-Man. Insidious: The Red Door drops from the gold medal to the bronze this week. Another $13 million, 2 weeks, $58.1 million. Sound of Freedom which a lot of people are saying a lot of things about. This is a very controversial film that a lot of people have a lot of very strong opinions about it. It goes from the bronze to silver this week, makes $27 million, 2 weeks, $85.5 million for this film. This is a film that was shopped around to a bunch of studios, never got released independently. Word of mouth has done a ton of business for this film. Winning the weekend, as it should have, because it was released on Wednesday. And we talked about, by the way, all three of the boys have reviews for this film that we're about to talk about at www.theclubhousepodcast.com.
Still our website.
Thank you. The reason Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 was released on Wednesday was because of the movies that are coming out this week. They wanted to be able to take advantage of as many premium format theaters as they could. Anybody want to guess how much money it made this weekend?
$50.
A little bit more than that.
Okay, 50 million.
Very close.
Okay.
Made $56.2 million for
63.
the weekend. $80 million since Wednesday. I want to say estimates since Wednesday it met. Weekends were a little weird. We're getting back to that place where everything doesn't make $100 million on its opening weekend. This is a very good film. It's a lot of fun, and it stops the action just long enough for you to breathe before it fires back up on you again. I think all three of us really enjoyed this film. I haven't ranked it yet. It's kind of like with Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, which went from 2 to 4 this week, making $12 million, 3 weeks, 145.3. I missed an Elemental went from 4 to 5, 8.7, making 125 million. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, I need to go back and watch again because I still don't know how I feel about it. Mission Impossible, I want to go back just so I can watch it again because this movie is bat guano crazy. It just is, and it knows what it needs to be, and it's that thing. So, and it's actually the longest review I have written in quite some time. I think I cleared 1,200 words in that, which I usually hang around 5. So, go check that out. But by the way, they're going to be okay because globally that movie did $235 million this weekend. Also, Super Mario Brothers. Steven, I know you loved it.
Yes, it was one of the most fun movies I've ever seen. It's the only movie I think I've ever seen 3 times in theaters.
Can I give my complaint about Super Mario 8? Because my niece now has a Switch, and we played it on 4th of July. I like the days where I had Mario Kart Wii and I could put it in the wheel and I could turn the wheel. Not being able to do that kind of takes away from the game for me.
You can.
Can you?
You can. They have Joy-Con accessories. Yeah, you have Joy-Con accessories for your Switch, and they have steering wheels. You take whatever it is, you pop it in, and what you do is when you go to whatever your character select is, they have options where you click either the plus or the minus button, whatever is on the Joy-Con you select. You click it, and then they have bumper controls, tilt or analog controls, so you could tilt or do analog, and then the other one is automatic like gas. So like if someone's like new or someone's young, you could put on bumpers, make it like a steering wheel and stuff like that. But yeah, you have all those accessibilities. That's been around since the game's come out on the Switch.
My niece about that because I have an Xbox Series X and I'm playing racing games. It just doesn't feel right if I don't have it as a wheel. I'm playing that Hot Wheels game, and it's frustrating. That has passed $770 million globally. Let that sink in. The Super Mario Brothers movie has made over $750 million. It has made more globally than Fast 10 because right now it just hit 705 and it's already on streaming. And I believe Super Mario Brothers is too. But I think that the physical copy still got a couple more weeks. Nathan Fillion will play a Green Lantern. Let's be clear on this. People are like, oh, he's playing Green Lantern. He's playing a Green Lantern. They're not saying that he is playing Hal Jordan. Rumors are he might be playing Guy Gardner, but we don't know for sure because we have a lot of Superman Legacy casting this week. with Isabella Merced. She'll be playing Hawkgirl. Anthony Kerrigan, who you might know from Barry, he's playing Metamorpho. And Edie Gathegi, who I believe is going to be in the upcoming, is he going to be in Haunted Mansion? He is playing Mr. Terrific, which I'm glad we're kind of getting some of these lower tier characters, getting them some love. Are you a fan of The Nightmare Before Christmas?
Huge fan.
Don?
No, I saw it, but it wasn't a huge fan. I mean, I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it.
Did you know that this year is the 30th anniversary of The Nightmare Before Christmas? Did you know that because of that, you can go to your local Home Depot and you can buy a Jack Skellington inflatable? All right, it might not be inflatable. I don't know. It didn't look like it in the picture I saw. That's 13 feet tall. A 13-foot Jack Skellington.
How tall are these ceilings here from the balcony? No,
That is twice as tall as my house, I think. At least the ceilings in my house. I think it would clear my roof.
30 or 1?
If I had a house, I would do it.
1-3. It is the 30 anniversary, but it is 1-3 feet tall.
Okay, 113. Well, most houses, a story is 10 feet. So still, that's huge. We even saw decorations up there for Halloween stuff the other day at home. So, what else is 30 years?
Terrified to put that up though.
Right.
Celebrating the 30-year release. Dazed and Confused.
Yep, there will be some theaters in Austin and San Antonio that I believe will be showing a special edition of it in September. Movie new releases and places you see movie new releases this week. Over 20,000 people have bought tickets to do the double feature of Barbie and Oppenheimer next weekend. Over 20,000 people will be doing the double feature. Looks confused.
So they are. I heard
this
kind of
Oppenheimer I hear about.
I did not know they're doing a double feature. I didn't know
they're not. People are buying tickets to both movies to watch them the same day.
Okay.
But Oppenheimer, of course, about the guy that basically invented the nuclear bomb in World War II. This is Christopher Nolan's first R-rated film since Insomnia 20 years ago. We will be screening it on Tuesday night in one of the only 38 70mm prints in existence. If you've seen the pictures, the 70mm print is 11 miles long and weighs 600 pounds in the IMAX. They've actually had to put up adapters on the platter so the film will fit.
That's a thing you put on Facebook or something, right? That photo.
Alex put the picture up. I mentioned it on the show. Alex found the picture. We will be screening that Tuesday night. All three of us will have reviews up for you on Thursday. So I'll probably have to use an A-list to go see Barbie this weekend because I am going to see this movie. Also this week, a movie called with a Cobweb with Lizzie Kaplan. Horror strikes when an 8-year-old boy named Peter tries to investigate the mysterious knocking noises that are coming from inside the walls of his house and a dark secret that his sinister parents kept hidden from him. No! Hard pass. We also have another film this week with the same basic reaction from me. It's called Mother May I. When Anya starts behaving like her recently deceased mother, Emmett must confront his deepest traumas to free his fiancée from this bewildering possession. No! This is not my bag.
I'll get you a copy of that for Christmas.
No, you won't. Movies at home this week. A limited edition for the anniversary of the film Hugo. If you have not seen that, will be available this week. The Charlie Day star-studded film Fool's Paradise that seemed to get away from me at theaters. Love Again with the Céline Dion will be available to you this week. Devil Row, which at one point we had a trailer up at our website for. The Little Richard documentary called I Am Everything, which I have heard very good things about. And the Criterion Collection does their version this week of a film and a collection of films. The film by itself will be the Richard Gere film from the 80s, Breathless. Jean-Luc Godard did that. And then you have the renowned Westerns, The Tall T, Decision at Sundown, Buchanan Rides Alone, Ride Lonesome, and Comanche Station this week, available to you on Tuesday. Let's now talk about the biggest story of the week, gentlemen. For the first time since 1960, we have SAG-AFTRA, which is the Actors Union, and the Writers Guild of America, the WGA, the Writers Union, now both on strike at the same time. Originally, the strike for the actors was going to take place the day before my birthday. They had an extension until July 12th. That extension came and went. So Thursday night / Friday morning at 12:01 Pacific time, the actors officially were on strike. Now, we have a lot of, we're going to cover as much as we can here. We are not experts on this. I know enough to be dangerous. I do know that at the Oppenheimer premiere in New York, word got to the cast that the strike was happening, and the cast actually left during the screening. Christopher Nolan at the Q&A afterwards did say that he understood, and he let everybody know what the situation was. There is a lot going on here. A lot of people on the surface will say, why are the actors striking? They make a ton of money. I don't think people truly understand what's going on here. With the Actors Guild,
I have no clue.
The Actors Guild, part of it is pay raises. Because I read this stat the other day and I found it staggering. To qualify for health insurance with the Screen Actors Guild, you have to make over $26,000 a year. That is $500 a week, which in LA will probably get you maybe a cot on my desk per month. 83% of the actors in the Screen Actors Guild do not qualify for medical insurance. So let me say it again for the people in the cheap seats. Almost 9 out of 10 people in the Screen Actors Guild do not make $26,000 a year or more from the entertainment industry. So when you see people like Matt Damon or Fran Drescher, people like Fran Drescher is worth $25 million. That's great. She's not out there for her. She is out there fighting for the rights of these people that are making pennies on the dollar, because the other thing that they're facing right now, and they're a little bit behind the curve, but they're trying to catch up, is two big things. Number one, AI. I heard a story this week that a studio is paying people about $100 to come in and be scanned. They go into a database, and in perpetuity, they'll just throw your image in as a background person in a scene, and you get nothing from it. AI is going to become a bigger player as time goes on. The other problem they're facing right now, and have been facing for a while because nobody got ahead of the curve, is streaming. This was one of the big things that why the writers' strike started, because the old model, let's say Steven is a guest star on an episode of Silver Spoons. It's 1983. The way it worked is every time that episode aired, Steven would get a check for royalties for his visage being on people's television screens. That was trackable by Nielsen. They knew the ratings. Now, streaming, nobody knows those numbers. So although Steven's episode of Silver Spoons might be available, I wouldn't even know who would have it at this point. Let's just assume it's Peacock. Peacock doesn't show the number of people that stream that episode, so nobody would know what kind of residuals to give to Steven. Everybody with me so far?
Yeah, and there's issues with that too.
I'm going on strike right now. I want my residuals.
And it's the same thing for the writers too.
Well, the issue is when it streams, though. Okay, let's say it airs on TBS, that episode, and Steven was on that episode for 10 minutes, and he get that residual check because it showed on TBS, and let's say he got $10 or whatever it was. Okay, that's going to a mass showing of multiple people. When it's streamed by just one person, it's only seen by one streaming person or one account. That's not going to be possibility of being seen to hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands. That's just one person. So should they get $10 for that one person streaming versus when they're paying $10 where tens of thousands of people can see it? That's the issue they have with the
separate airings, Don.
What?
They're separate airings. So if CBS shows it at 7 o'clock, but my local channel CW shows a rerun at 8 o'clock, that's 2 showings.
Yeah, not a problem.
So if I stream that episode on Peacock as soon as we get off the air, and you stream that episode at 10 o'clock, that's 2 showings.
But the amount of audience watching is the story about it, because they're paying to be seen by hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands, whatever, multiple, could be thousands of people, versus when you watch it by yourself or 2 people, should they pay $10 for when only 2 people see it, and also having to pay $10 when 10,000 people see it? That's the issue because of what they're getting out of it.
C-suite is making $100 million a year. Yeah. And both the writers and the actors are not asking for a huge piece of the pie. They're not.
But that's the issue with streaming.
So what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
So what I'm thinking is like, this is just what I'm looking at, because I'm hearing how it breaks down. Why haven't they just found like a standard? It's almost like per gallon kind of type thing. So it's like how many times that episode that character has been streamed that month, and you accumulate it over that month based off the amount. So it's like 5 cents an episode.
Right, but they don't release those numbers. Nobody knows what those numbers are.
And that's the problem, and that's what they need to do. Now, should they give a higher rate to the actor when it's streamed on a big channel where multiple people see it, and a lower rate when it's screened per view on it per account, or maybe it's $10 here and 10 cents here when only one person's watching it? That's a deal they're trying to work out, which is fine too. You know what I'm saying?
But you look at something like Squid Game that has been watched, and we've talked about it on this show.
Yeah,
that show has been watched.
Got no money.
And he got nothing for it.
I understand.
Nothing for it.
And that's where they should get. They should figure out a rate of when it's streamed on like Netflix. For each account it's streamed, it should get a certain amount, but not as the big of amount. And when it's streamed on a national network,
in 4 weeks after Squid Game dropped, 4 weeks, it was viewed for 1.65 billion hours, according to Netflix.
Yeah.
So add 25 cents to that and like multiply it or something.
That's the equivalent, as Variety says, 182,000 years. No residuals.
And they need to work that out.
That's the point.
Yeah.
John Gunn says he's never received a residual check from his work on Gilmore Girls. Not one.
And that's the thing. Under the contract at the time, because they were behind the game, they never did that. And now they have
been a thing since the 60s.
I know.
The other problem that we face, and part of the reason that all of this has done what it's done, is the pandemic changed everything.
Oh, yeah.
We say it all the time on this show. The pandemic changed everything. So all of a sudden, we went from blissful ignorance to, oh my God, the internet has now gone to another level because of streaming. No one could have foreseen what happened in 2020. It's just not possible. So now we've got the writers and the actors basically playing catch up in this thing. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. Last month there was an episode of Fat Man on Batman where Kevin Smith and Mark Bernardin do an amazing job breaking down the writer strike. I couldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole if I tried. Go watch that episode because Mark really does know how to break that down for you. What Mark Bernardin said, because the problem is, and the directors have been incredibly quiet. Here's your other problem. The Directors Guild, their deal ran out the same day as the actors. There are reports that there was a verbal agreement reached, but nothing in stone. The Directors Guild has been incredibly quiet during this whole thing. Here's the other thing you face. And Steven, this is where you're going to get involved, I think, a little bit more. What happens next weekend? What's coming next weekend?
The Emmys?
My anniversary.
Is that the Emmys or what?
That is my
The
anniversary.
Emmys are in September. Next
Golden
weekend
Globes?
is San Diego Comic-Con.
Oh,
So
man.
as a result
I went to New
of
York
this-
Comic Con. I've been out of the loop.
As a result of this strike, if an actor was having a trip to San Diego covered by a studio to promote a project, they now cannot go. So all these studios that were pulling out of San Diego, this has now gone to another level, which is I was really hoping we could have our special guest on because I was trying to get Mark Walters, who runs Dallas Comic Show, and get his perspective on this. Luckily for shows like He Works and our friend the Donna Works, those are private shows. So Greater Austin Comic Con, which I just worked and had a blast. Dallas Comic Show, Retro Expo's coming up in September. Giganticon in Colleen comes up at the end of September. Shows like this that aren't major studio meccas, which, kind of wish they were sometimes. Those actors who are being paid by the show and not by the studio can do those appearances. They can shake the hands and kiss the babies and do the autographs and do the selfies. However, the gray area now becomes, now we're getting into my house a little bit. What do I, as a person who moderates panels with these celebrities, how does this work? Because as per the strike,
Mount Rushmore French fries.
which Bernardin says could go till at least Halloween at this point. So that's also going to cover your other Dallas fan days too. And you've got things like Fantastic Fest in Austin. Film festivals, same problem. Now, if your production is under $2 million, there's a loophole there. You can promote that because there's a piece in the Screen Actors Guild that says that can still happen. That's how Kevin Smith's doing his next film called The 430 Movie. So what I have to watch for now, I've got shows coming up that I'm working. What can I do? What can't I do? Because it may be, Rob, we can't do panels because they can't promote anything they've got coming up. They're really not supposed to be promoting stuff they've already done as per SAG-AFTRA rules. So what happens now? I will be because D23, there's no way that's happening. Bob Iger's dug his own grave right now. Because if San Diego's going to if San Diego's going to get handcuffed, D23's out the window. DC Fandom might not happen. This is going to get uglier before it gets any prettier. Hear me on this, internet. Because as we get deeper and there's no material for Hollywood to put out, you're going to run out of movies. And you're going to have nothing but reality shows. and reruns and shows getting pushed back to, just like we talked about with All American on the CW, going to a mid-season replacement so they can't burn all the episodes before the strike. Because once let's just say the strike ends November 1. It's going to be February or March before you're going to be able to see anything, because writers got to write new scripts, actors got to act new scripts, directors got to direct new scripts.
Well, here's the thing. I'll give one thing on the writers. They're writing right now. They're putting stuff, typing away, so when the strike ends, hey, I got this. I'm getting paid now.
Get paid for it, Don.
But once the strike is over, stuff they've been writing during the strike, they can sell now and all that stuff.
I hope so.
Yeah, because they can write stuff and everything, but they're not going to give it out until the strike's over and they get paid for it. But they're writing. They can write stuff. They get an idea, they're going to keep it, and they might be not doing it full time.
I write today ain't going to pay my rent on August 1.
I understand that, but they're still writing stuff for when the strike is over. They'll get paid for that stuff that they're going to be selling out now. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, yeah, it's just except like actors, though, they can't act on camera until the strike is over. But writers could be writing shows while the strike is on. Once the strike's over, here's the script I'm selling you guys. There you go.
Like, here's the thing, Don.
Yeah.
That you have to think about, as a wise man once said, allow me to retort.
Yeah.
Studios aren't going to take everything. Because here's the problem. This is basic supply and demand. There's going to be thousands of scripts out there. 10 of them might get taken. So if I'm a writer, yes, I might be writing things, but it could be 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road before I see any fruit from that. Whereas when that pipe has a steady flow, every rising tide raises all boats. But when that floodgate stops, everything stops and builds up and builds up and builds up and builds up and builds up. So if I'm back here and that floodgate opens, Lord only knows when I'm going to get even to the floodgate.
Yeah.
That's the other problem. Is I hope everybody comes out of this smelling like a rose. I really do, because I believe in what these people are wanting.
Yeah,
but it's the very definition of calculated risk.
Of course. And there's looking at D23, that's scheduled for September 8th through September 10th.
Good luck.
That's you know,
especially when you
now can they make it with both
telling people to go pound sand? It's not helpful.
Yeah, with both being out, you know, these strikes have gone like 2 months, but with both out, I think maybe it might be able to push it more, where it might not be as long. Hopefully.
It's the first time since 1960.
Yeah, no. Eisenhower was president. Eisenhower was president at the time. You know, so I mean, I think with both being out, it might press it more where they're able to make a deal sooner and not 2 months from now. It might be 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Hopefully, we could hope.
We can hope.
Yep.
Steven, do you have what other thoughts do you have on this?
I'm just sitting here thinking just where everything's going with the shows, like backlogging and everything. And then I was thinking this too as well. Like you were saying, like, what does it do for a guy like you at these smaller conventions? You got to take a page out of the 1334 book a little bit. You got to just ask the random questions. Leave all the entertainment out and just make them a person.
Well, and something that's your jam.
I'll give you a list to ask.
Something that's your jam too, which is actually a loophole. These actors can still do voiceover and do video games and things like that. That's outside of the realm of the strike. So that industry, I don't think, and writers too. Writers can write video games. They can do those things.
So these anime conventions are probably going to be alive.
and get ready for a boom in anime conventions too. Because I've met a lot of great people in the voiceover community, and they are doing shows every weekend right now. Got to keep the lights on, bro.
Now, do you think this will affect stuff? Because I heard the numbers were down on places like Disney World in the visitation. Does that affect the staff of any of the people that work at
those? That's a whole different union.
Okay. I don't know.
Those people aren't, to my knowledge, most of those people are considered, if anything, they would be stage union.
Okay.
Because they wouldn't be Screen Actors Guild because they're not on movies or television. Now,
Maybe they do, unless they do both. But
if they're a member of SAG, which you
Yeah.
can be with a fairly short IMDb, as long as
Yeah.
you pay your dues, that can get squirrely.
yeah, can they still perform at Disney?
But that's what I'm saying. If
Yeah,
they're a
yeah.
member of SAG, I would assume that is a loophole because it's live performance
Mhm.
and not film.
Same with like Broadway and stuff like that.
I think the Venn diagram there is incredibly thin. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
And that's an excellent question that I would need to research.
And I heard the
But
numbers.
Logic would dictate no.
Now I heard the numbers at Disney are down this year on visitation.
That's because they keep jacking up the prices.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like-
And I went to Epcot earlier this summer, and they were saying the traffic was like almost like a fourth less than what it has been in previous years. Not COVID.
They keep jacking up the prices and people can't afford it. Or if they can't afford it, they're putting a second mortgage on their house.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta look at like they shut down that Star Wars experience now, which I was
Well,
thinking.
That hurt my heart, but I understand why. Like, not everybody can shell out
5,000
a head for
Yeah.
3 days.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's even that. I think it's like 2.5. Like, I would have loved to have done Galactic Star Cruiser, but I ain't got that kind of cash to just throw away.
Yeah.
I got bills to pay, big homie.
And plus, the rooms are smaller, like a cruise ship room.
Well, that's what it's supposed to be.
I understand, not like a cruise ship, not like a they should at least make it
That's
bigger.
why it's called the Galactic Star Cruiser.
I know, but they can make it a little bit bigger. But
That's part of the immersion of the adventure, Don.
I understand.
Anything else you guys want to add before we wrap up? I thought this was a really great discussion.
Well, one thing we did bring up in pre-show is that there are, yes, I want to make the point on one side, and I'm not going to take either side on this, is that, there are actors who make $20 million on this film and what Tom Cruise has made off Maverick and everything. But that's like in the NFL, where how many players in the NFL get $100 million contract and get a $50 million endorsement deal and all that stuff when you have over 1,300 players 1,600 players in the NFL at one time, you know.
What you're seeing of the Tom Cruises and the Matt Damons, that's the tip of the iceberg on what SAG-AFTRA is. But the beauty of it is those actors, those A-listers, are the ones also out there on the picket lines. When the writers were on strike, the entire cast of Ted Lasso was out there.
It's just like what's his face? Jimmy Kimmel stopped.
Yeah.
Bill Maher stopped. John Oliver stopped. They all said no, we're not going to,
because they all have owners.
Yeah, exactly. And
now we did get clarification, because my first question when the writers went on strike was WWE, AEW, Impact Wrestling. How does all that work? Those writers are not union.
Yeah.
And because that's live performance, again, I think that links into the Broadway thing.
And I understand it's a new realm with streaming. And, here's the thing. My little point is, they got a rate where if it's on a national television show, they should get paid X amount of dollars. But I think they can work out a deal when it's streamed. They get a certain percentage of each stream.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
100%.
Yeah. Yeah. It might be a lot lower, but a deal can be worked out,
And we hope one ends, and we hope one's quickly, because we don't.
Yeah.
On this show, and I'll speak for myself, you don't ever want somebody to be out of work too long.
No.
And we send all of our best to those out there on the picket lines, those that are trying to do the right thing. If it's one thing the show has always based itself on, is just do the right thing.
And I say that to both sides.
Yeah.
They're there to entertain us. They're there to entertain us. So.
And we just want to send our best, and we hope this gets resolved soon and gets resolved in a way that is mutually beneficial. Because, again, we're going to start running out of stuff, y'all. So, if you're out there somewhere where somebody's picking, drop off a case of water to them, because, dear God, it's the middle of July. I did my yard work yesterday and got up early and everything, and I still did not feel human until dinner time. So we can't even imagine what's going on in California. So All right, gentlemen, let's do the plugs and get out of here. Make sure you visit our website, the aforementioned www.theclubhousepodcast.com. Find out everything you need to know and some stuff you don't. Now featuring trailers. I got to get that updated tomorrow. You can follow me on all of your social medias. It's right there. Still getting used to this. Everything is Yes That Rob Urban. That is spelled Ervin. My co-host for this show that I forgot to do his plugs on the last show. He is Alex Barnhill. You can follow him on Vexploit, VEXPLOIT on all your social medias.
Then you could follow me on Instagram, which is the thing, right? How am my hand working?
You're
that
frozen
thing in
right
the corner
now.
right there.
It's mine.
No, I'm frozen. Okay, well, anyway, wherever my hand is pointing, it's the box in the corner, the bottom left.
Looking forward to the return as the Phoenix rises from the ashes of the 1334 show. Looking forward to what you boys are doing.
And if you want to get some awesome shirts that make me look good, go to prowrestlingtees.com/cheappopcast. And Twitter, I'm at Igbodu, IGBNUU, which is like written right down there. I can actually kind of spell it and all that. No, it's right there, right there. And also, on if you want this managed to your place, email me, don@theclubhousepodcast.com.
Email Don for information on how we can do a live show at your particular establishment. Shout out to all of our friends at the Asian Film Festival Dallas this week. And it looks like they had a really great showing out there. You can email me questions, comments, concerns. Tell me to go pound sand. I am rob@theclubhousepodcast.com. Charla Marshall is on Pinterest because we are morally obligated to say that. Our normal show every Sunday night, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, is your one-stop shop for all things sports, entertainment, and pop culture. So until next week, for Steven, for Alex, for Don, for the Empire, I'm Rob. Clubhouse is closed. And if Brittany Palmer does get that gig, she'll be the best thing about that Elon Musk Zuckerberg fight. I'm just saying.